Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of The Chamber Within. Today, I want to talk about the burnt toast theory and expand on it if possible. If you aren't familiar with the burnt toast theory, it's described as a moment of inconvenience, such as burning your toast, and how that can set off a chain of events that prevents you from some greater harm in the near future. So, if you were getting ready for work and during this time you were preparing your breakfast, and instead of it being a successful, mindless task, you end up burning your toast for whatever reason. And perhaps take the time to toast another slice, enjoy it, and then leave for work a tad bit delayed off schedule. This then leads you to be behind in your schedule and delayed for work. However, on your way to work, you notice an accident that happened, and most likely around the time of your normal daily commute. But instead of being involved in this misfortune, due to being delayed, you avoided it altogether and are now witnessing it as a passerby and not someone inconvenienced or harmed by this occurrence. Now, when I heard of this theory, I thought of the scene from the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, where Daisy, the leading female character, got hit by a car, and that accident basically ruined her ballet career because her legs were crushed, or I think it was one leg. Well, anyway, again, all set off by a series of events and other people's days, all affecting one another, like they're intertwined in a beautifully chaotic web of circumstances within the same general area, like the same neighborhood. Now, one of these outlooks is a way of seeing the silver lining, and the other is not. It's basically, what if all of these things did not happen? Then Daisy would be able to continue to enjoy her life as a professional dancer. And I was thinking, this is where our choices come into play. Both ideas are descriptions of the burnt toast theory, but from different sides of the coin. Also related to the butterfly effect, how one thing affects another. Great movie, by the way, but the butterfly effect is an actual thing outside of it being a movie. It's also a theory of how we are all connected. So, one side chooses to acknowledge the positive outcomes of a bad situation, and the other side focuses on the bad situation and attributes the event to reasons why this moment sucks, basically. We have free will, and we know we have free will. But truly, the will we know that we have um, doesn't really get utilized as it starts in the mind, right? Because you can choose love or fear, right? You can choose which determining factor, and that shapes the perception, or your perception shapes your life, I should say. Is the moment that you sit in right now happening to you or for you? That's a real question. I'm genuinely wondering, whatever situation you sit in this moment of your life, are you thinking to yourself, this is happening to me and this sucks? Or are you able to conceptualize that the possibility even exists that this is somehow working in your favor, even though you may not be able to see just how yet? Now, if I were to answer my own question, my honest response to that would be is that I oscillate between both. I tend to linger on the silver lining end of the spectrum more often, but for some reason, the greater inconvenience, the bigger the lesson. So if I leave my lunch that I planned, my delicious lunch at home that I made up and I put out to collect as I walk out of the door, but leave it at home, I find it hard to imagine why me forgetting my lunch serves me. Because now I'm hungry. The last time it happened, now that I'm thinking in hindsight, I think it did teach me a lesson because I was able to receive help from my coworker who begged to get lunch for me. So I did eat. So I wasn't hungry. I'm not so easily accepting of favors. So maybe that was like a personal lesson. I don't know. Um, it was nice in the moment, but it wasn't cool. And I didn't see a silver lining to just this very moment. That's kind of funny. Anyway, the point is, this is, of course, a short term issue that will be forgotten by the next morning. And greater suffering, I tend to look at how on earth this may be for my benefit somehow. Perhaps it's a survival mechanism, or perhaps I'm just dramatic in that way. But I figured if I'm asking you a question, I should be willing to at least be able to answer it for myself. And there it is. I am not one thing. I am at times pessimistic, even though I've had a spiritual awakening and I love to see the silver lining and positivity. Um, Not always, but sometimes, yeah, I'm like, I really had a taste for that sandwich or that meal that I prepared, and now I don't have it. Um, Maybe now I'm saying this, the silver lining was being able to lean on someone else and not always be the tough one or the one that has it all together and figured out. And, I don't pretend to, but I would definitely like to have it all figured out. Anyway, this isn't about having a right or wrong answer. It's just the pensive me genuinely wondering if I'm able to advocate for myself in real time. I speak of choosing your thoughts carefully and being mindful and how not to destroy yourself from the inside out. And it takes work. And the work is every day, every moment of the waking day. I spoke of being more congruent in my life. Like there's the automatic reply dawn, and then there's the me that is able to slow down and really look at situations in my life and say, hey, what if this was all to my benefit? What if this was working out for me? I want to say this. I was mistaken not to add to my list a couple weeks ago about the signs of an awakening, but I wanted to add this now. Perhaps you begin to see meanings in the simple things in life or signs being shown to you over and again until you notice, like a flashing red light. You know, this is a sign. I know that I notice things and use them as markers on where I am in life, like a game board. I'll share this one personal sign that I have given meaning to. They say life is meaningless until you give it meaning or give meaning to it. Um, and this is me doing just that. So here it is. There are a total of 5 streets that I have lived on, and I can assign and see the correlation I have had with the meaning of that street name. For instance, during my awakening period, I had moved to a place with the name Evolve in it. I thought, cool name, nice place. Let me get the keys. That's it. That's what I thought upon moving into this place. Not until afterwards did I realize the coincidence and think perhaps it was more than a coincidence. Maybe my higher self set up breadcrumbs for me. Me being the game piece on this here game board of life, since it's a game. That's pretty cool. And if not, it's still pretty cool. It's a pretty cool happenstance. 5 different streets I can see. I can see how that street name was basically um, an area of where I was in my life, um, a marker of my growth or stagnation, really. And no, I don't currently live on Podcast Road or Podcast Way, although that would be very, very cool. Anyway, if you've had blatant signs that have helped you to understand your life, blatant to you anyway, and that's all that matters, or perhaps more abstract ideas on how life has worked out in your favor, no matter the circumstance that you've lived through, I'd love to hear your story. And also, your feelings on the burnt toast theory if you have any. You can email me at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com or leave a comment on my YouTube page. Let me know if you'd like for me to share your feedback on a future episode or if it's to be kept completely confidential. As always, thank you for listening today. I hope you all have a great week ahead, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.